afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube discussion. Today we are talking about, does Alex Kurtzman deserve your hate? I am joined here by a extremely amazing panel of hosts
Has
here.
no idea what they're doing
The
at
worst
all.
boss
This
ever.
ignorant,
What are
stupid
you
person
telling me about?
is
I
ignorant,
can't
stupid.
believe what the heck
God.
you did
Or-
with
Order in the
Discovery.
court. Order in the court. Hi guys, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
Finer than frog hair, my friend.
Appropriation returned. Okay, so we are joined here by a couple people. There's going to be people going in and out just as they at their leisure. Zam will be here a little bit later. We'll have some of the Avalon guys joining us here in a little bit. But what I've been talking with people on Facebook, and after Picard season 3 ended, I just wanted to, and I mean, I'm not saying Picard season 3 is the reason why, because we'll get into that in a little bit. But does Alex Kurtzman, Alex Kurtzman deserve our hate? So, with all that being said, I'm going to start out with opening arguments here. Me and Zam have said many times that we are actually we're not fans of Alex Kurtzman, but we think he's redeemed himself. And what we mean by that is the fact that Alex Kurtzman has at least put people in places that have brought us some good Trek recently. Now, granted, if you go back and look at Discovery season 1 and 2, I would agree with you. It was a cluster. Just terrible nonsense. And I would agree with you. However, in Picard season 1 also, but Picard season 2, 3, Lower Decks, Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, Discovery seasons 3 and 4 have all shown marked improvements in the product of Trek. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am just saying is that, and as I said, Kurtzman is not the director on all of these projects, but he has put people in the place like Terry McAllister, whatever his name was from Picard season 3, to make us this project that we have, that we have here. So, with that all being said, I've said my piece. I want to go around and let's start with our guest here, Steve. And Steve, just tell us your opinion on New Trek. Just flat out, no holds barred. Alex Kurtzman, what your thoughts are on him as an executive producer, him as as leading Trek into this current age of Star Trek.
Okay. I'm not sure all of the projects that he's been involved with. I had heard that he was involved with some of the JJ stuff as well as the beginning of Discovery. And I was not a fan of the JJ films at all. I'm not a fan of Discovery, especially season 1. I think that the changes were too drastic. It was like they were reaching for a totally different audience than the Trek audience they already had built in, which I can understand. You want to expand your audience, but at what expense? Throwing in the F-bomb every other word and, that kind of thing, that's unnecessary. Once in a while, sure, and make it a whatever rating you want. But in my book, a real Star Trek should be something that you can sit the whole family down and watch. So, assuming that we're talking about the same guy who's behind Prodigy, hey, he did something right. Prodigy is the thing to keep your whole family together watching wholesome Star Trek science fiction stories. So, Prodigy, good job.
Okay. We'll go in backwards order. V-Man, tell us how much you love Alex Kurtzman with every fiber of your being. Please tell us.
I mean, first off, everybody, they kind of look at TOS through Enterprise with rose-colored glasses. They look at that as like the height of Trek. Voyager was a piece of shit show. Enterprise for half of it was garbage. For my opinion, I think the back half was great. There are some people that say Enterprise was a hot mess. There are some people who think DS9 was just completely horseshit. So yeah, I loved it. To me, I think that was the best series from that era. So when they look back at that Trek Now they think Enterprise was great. And that wasn't the case from back then. So I think you have to really look at modern Trek. I'm echoing on someone's monitor, so someone needs to hit mute or something.
I don't hear it on my end, but I can try muting mine.
I do. I hear it on someone's monitor. That's better. So when you look at modern Trek through that same type of perspective, every Trek is going to be hit or miss for a certain individual, a certain group or whatever. I personally didn't like. I don't really care for Discovery. I'm not too excited to watch it, but I'll fucking watch it because if it's on, why not? I mean, it beats watching the news because that's depressing. So I'll watch something else that's depressing, which is usually Discovery because it's not too hopeful. To me, I prefer my Star Trek to be, more hopeful than not. But DS9 wasn't super hopeful either. But it had good storytelling to it. There are elements to Discovery that I like. There are more elements that I don't, but to each their own. It's not for me to say, for those that do enjoy Discovery, that they can't enjoy it. And I think that's where modern audiences are wrong. So I don't hate Kurtzman at all. I think he's doing the job he's been asked to do, which is make something for modern people that they can enjoy. And for me, I don't really care for Prodigy all that much. I like the fact that people do enjoy it, but for me, it's not really for me. I'll still watch it, if I'm free or if I catch an episode, but it's not really for me. I love Lower Decks. There are people out there that fucking hate it. They think it's just garbage, and that's fine. But I don't think the hate on him is justified because, like you said, he puts people in positions where they can go excel, and that's what he's done. Strange New Worlds, I think, is just up. It's up there with DS9. Same thing with this last season of Picard. I fucking hated the first two seasons of Picard. I think those were some of the worst television that we've ever fucking seen. Season 1 was stupid as shit. Season 2 made no fucking sense and was all over the place. I mean, there were elements that were decent, but it's terrible. Season 3 completely turned that around, and I think that was some of the best Trek we've ever had. So it's hit or miss, just like old Trek used to be hit or miss. So I think the problem is not Alex Kurtzman. I think it's the armchair warriors that we have on the fucking internet, and I think that's the problem. People have too much of an opinion in their inflated sense of ego. So.
Okay, we'll keep on rotating on along here. Just so you know, Josh, we were kind of getting an echo from you, so I muted you. But when you go to talk, just unmute yourself. I don't know what it was. Boogeyman, did you get your audio thing figured out? You there?
Are we here? Can you hear me?
Oh, we are here. All right, so give us your thoughts on current Trek, Alex Kurtzman, if you have any opinions on him, about this fine, these armchair warriors, as Vance calls them. I think I'm going to call them that from now on. Just tell the world about this new Trek and what you think of from the beginning of Discovery and all the way up through whatever you've seen so far of Star Trek.
So real quick, V-Man, can you mute your thing because I'm hearing a horn or something in the background? Okay, so I'm going to come at this from a complete fan, like a fanboy perspective, not like a hardcore. He's part of it.
He's not jaded like all of us.
I'm not jaded, only because, and then also, I haven't had time to really absorb, especially Picard. I have not had time to absorb it. I've only seen every episode once. Whereas Voyager, I've watched the series probably 4 or 5 times by now. TNG 4 or 5 times, DS9 4 or 5 times. So, anyways, overall, I thought it came out pretty good. I thought there were moments that probably were pretty stupid, like V-Man was saying, season 1, season 2, season 3 kind of, to me, I felt knocked it out of the park. It kind of answered a lot of good questions that I've had from TNG for a very long time. The Data thing, I'm happy where it landed with him, but at the same time, I think the way they got there was kind of But overall, I mean, director aside, I could care less what the director does. I think it came to a good close. It gave us a good way to say goodbye to the TNG that we just didn't have from the original series. So maybe one day down the road we can, if this topic ever comes up again, I will have watched, the series 2 or 3 more times by then to be able to really give you a full out opinion.
So quick question for you. So So Alex Kurtzman, I don't know if you know or not, but Alex Kurtzman is the like Kevin Feige of Star Trek right now. Like, so based on everything you've seen from the product, from Discovery season 1 all the way up to Picard, the end of Picard season 3, would you say that like is all the hate justified from on Alex Kurtzman based on you as a fan? Like you're not the hardcore fan like some of us, some of us in here are. So what would you, if no from hearing opening arguments from Steve and V-Man and me a little bit. I know we haven't gotten through everybody, but what are your impressions on that?
Honestly, I look at every series. It doesn't matter what show it is. I look at every series. It goes into the direction that the director dreams it to go. I felt he kept enough elements in there from TNG that no, I don't think the hate is justified. And the armchair warriors are of course are out there, eating their Cheetos, wiping it on their shirts, and going into complete uproar about stuff that it really is menial to the whole thing. Look at the grand scheme. Look at everything put together. It does close out a good life section, especially for the older crowd. It closes out that, yeah, without repeating myself for a third time.
Okay. I'm going to Josh, are you there, bud? I have you on mute. Are you here? I can unmute you.
Yeah, I'm here.
All righty. So go ahead,
Can you
my
hear me?
friend, and why don't you give us your impression, Alex Kurtzman, new Trek from Disco season 1 all the way up to Picard, the end of Picard season 3. It has Alex Kurtzman redeemed himself in the sense of he's at least putting the right people in the right place to do the right things, or do you think that he's just riding on the coattails of other people?
Well, it's a nuanced question as far as does he deserve the hate? As far as did he redeem himself with Picard season 3? From everything that I've heard about how that went down, it was a happy accident that they didn't. Alex Kurtzman had no idea what was even going to happen there, and
I
that
meant
they were
Well, I just meant in general, like from Disco season 1 all the way up through,
all
like
the way.
even with Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, like from Disco season 1, everything in between. Do you feel like Alex Kurtzman's kind of put the right people in the right place to get redemption, kind of like the Kevin Feige of Star Trek?
Right.
Like maybe not as good as Kevin Feige, we can all probably agree on that, but from as an executive producer, does he deserve the hate that he gets?
Well, so I think that what's going on a lot with him in broad strokes is not unique to him. We can look at a lot of franchises right now, whether it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, you name it, where it's kind of the same thing going on, where studios they're hesitant in creating modern entertainment to try something new, so they kind of bring back an old franchise that they know people liked, but they want to put this new spin on it, and so many times you get the same story over and over again, where it's like, back in the 90s or whatever, you had a character like an Indiana Jones who is a white guy, and we're going to bring him back, but we got to surround him with all these new hip people, and they're going to belittle him and tell him what an idiot he is, and all of this. And you see that in Walker, Texas Ranger. You saw it a lot in yeah, you saw it in Picard. Definitely a lot in Picard. But as on the whole, Alex Kurtzman is not unique in that there are so many franchise runners that are being told by whatever studio they're working for, whether it's Paramount or Disney or whoever. These are our, this is what we want to put on screen because it reflects our values. And listen, I'm not as opposed to diverse casting as some people are. If you look at it from a numbers game, there have been 800 episodes of Star Trek, and out of those 800, roughly 400 of those have had a white guy as the captain. Um, a total of 600 or so have had a guy as the captain. Uh, Roughly 200 have had a woman as the captain, and of those 200, only 20 have had a black woman as the captain. So, you know, my thought process on it is, you look, that's just Star Trek. If you look at every other TV franchise for the last 75 years, how many TV shows have starred a white guy? So it's like, I kind of, I had people coming at my films because a lot of my stars are women, saying, "Oh, bring back Kirk." I'm like, Kirk's had enough. He's had 79 episodes and 10 movies. It's like, let's let's make a film about another kind of person. And so it's like, I'm not opposed to diverse casting and diverse storytelling. I just think like they fall into this trap of having to belittle a legacy character to kind of make, I call it, we have to make Superman weak to make Supergirl look stronger, which is what they did in CW. They made Superman weak so that Supergirl could be a stronger character. People hated it. And then, of course, now that they're making Superman and Lois, they redeem that character. But as for the question, did he put the right people in charge? To a degree. Um, like I feel like, and this is weird to say, that with all of the iterations of Star Trek we're getting in the past 5 years, my favorites have been the cartoons. I thought Lower Decks was hilarious because I accept it for what it is. It's a parody show. It's silliness. Well, that's fine. I'm not sitting there trying to take that show seriously. So, for what it is, I appreciate it. Prodigy, when I was looking at the materials for Prodigy, I thought this show looks like it interests me the least. But then I gave it a shot, like I do every Star Trek, and I absolutely loved it. I thought the story of these outsiders who don't know what Starfleet is, trying to figure out how to be Starfleet officers, I thought it was really touching. And I found that my 5-year-old little boy crawled in my lap and wanted to watch it with me. And I can't watch season 1 of Picard or Discovery with my 5-year-old. And so I really appreciated that. Discovery, I feel like, has tried, um, but they just keep kind of fizzling out when they get to the climax of whatever it is they're trying to do. It's like, oh, we got this mysterious burn thing. That's going to be cool. Oh, it's a dude crying because he misses his mommy. Like, what? So, and then as far as, getting back to Picard, the 2 first seasons being bad, well, he put Michael Chabon in charge of season number 1. And I don't hate season 1 as much as I hate season 2. I think season 1 has great elements to it that I appreciate. Akiva Goldsman was in charge of season 2, and he's horrible. And season 2 is like the most pointless season of television I've ever seen. Like, why'd they even do this? This storyline is literally pointless. Like, there was no reason to even do this entire 10 episodes of television, because there was this story. It just has no reason for even happening. And Akiva Goldsman then went on to produce Strange New Worlds. And what happened was they were always going to have 3 seasons of Picard. That was always the plan. And so they saw Picard season 3 as a lame duck show. So what they did was, Akiva Goldsman, because he's, the boy, he's going over to Strange New Worlds because, and, a lot like Voyager and Deep Space Nine back in the day, Michael Piller walked into Ira Stephen Bear's office and he said, "We're going to go work on Star Trek Voyager, and that's going to be the real Star Trek." He actually said that's going to be the real Star Trek. Here, can you handle things with this Deep Space Nine redheaded stepchild show while we're doing the real Star Trek? And Ira Stephen Bear's like, "Sure." And they go off to make the real Star Trek, and Ira Stephen Bear and his posse make the better show. It was the same thing. They go off and take Akiva Goldsman. We're going to go make the real Star Trek with Strange New Worlds now. Hey, Terry Matalas, you're the redheaded stepchild of Star Trek. Can you handle Picard season 3? Sure. And from everyone I've talked to, Terry Matalas did what he did with Picard season 3 because they weren't paying attention to what he was doing. They didn't even know. He made fun of them in several episodes, and he was asked, like, how'd you get away with making fun of the previous season? Well, they weren't paying attention to what I was doing. They didn't even realize it was going to be as popular as it was. It surprised them because, and this is where I'm going to argue that Alex Kurtzman sort of does deserve a little bit of, contempt, because his game plan was, okay, Discovery's going off the air, Picard's going off the air. Now we're going to make the Starfleet Academy show, which was derived from one of the most boring, forgettable episodes of Discovery season 4. We're going to take this thing that literally no one wants to watch, and we're going to make that, and had zero idea that Star Trek Picard season 3 was going to be as successful as it was. And when it was, he didn't understand why. He was surprised. And there have been so many calls for this Star Trek Legacy that they're having to go, oh, well. And I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to get like a mini series or a couple of made for TV style movies, but I don't know that they're going to sink the money into it to Legacy, because they didn't sink the money into Picard season 3 that they were putting into Discovery. They didn't sink the kind of money into Picard season 3 they're putting into Strange New Worlds. I mean, if you look at Picard season 3, the show everyone liked, they were reusing a set from season 2, and they were you could tell by a lot of things they were doing behind the scenes that they were having to save money wherever possible. They wouldn't let Kate Mulgrew have a cameo in the final episode because they're saying cost, but it's like, really, you got 7 of 9 being promoted to captain, and you're not going to have Kate Mulgrew in that scene, and they just wouldn't allow it. So
Okay.
I think he does deserve a little bit of criticism because he definitely does not have a pulse on what fans want. I will say that.
Okay. I mean, and you know what, Josh, you are, as an executive producer of the Avalon universe yourself, I mean, you have an insight into it that a lot of us don't. I mean, I'm sure V-Man has insight into it, the same. He's an executive producer in No Budget Productions and the Constar universe. Steve, I'm sorry, I'm not 100% familiar with your work, but I'm sure you are an executive producer in your fan film universe. So
Yes, sir.
So I mean, you guys have got a much, and this is why I wanted to do this big round tables, because you got a much more unique perspective. I do want to bring 2 people in. It's Craig and Ken down at the bottom. I know that Craig has been a fan of Star Trek since the original series, and I'm sure you have too, Steve. But he grew up watching it, and also got me into it. So I'm going to unmute him here. Hopefully the echo is gone. So we'll see how this goes. So Craig and Ken, how are you? And there's the echo.
There's the echo. Oh, sorry, because I'm casting this. All right, let me uncast it. Doggone it. Stupid technology.
Mommy loves you.
Oh God, here we go.
All right, is it?
All right, so Craig and Ken, the echo is gone. Go ahead, give us your thoughts on New Trek. What you think? I know you guys I don't think you guys have really much of a idea on Alex Kurtzman or any of this, nonsense that us younger folk have. But give us your thoughts on the New Trek, because I know Craig, at least you were a part of the original Trek.
All right, I'm easy. I love it all. And everything you guys are discussing about with all the new series and what's happening, it's not the creative people, it's not the fans, it's the bean counters that control it all. And as long as they're in control, we're going to have problems. I mean, I love all the new stuff. I finally finished Picard season 2. Absolutely loved it. Started season 3. Unfortunately, I'm way behind on everything else, but I'm going to get caught up.
That's because your wife won't let you watch it when you want to watch it.
Well, that, and I have other diversions too. But so go ahead, guys. we're probably gonna have to go back to our game anyway.
Yeah, I know.
In
But
more
I
ways.
appreciate you stopping here. So you love it all. You don't care about the bean counters. You don't care about the
No, I hate
Kurtzmans.
the bean counters. I hate them. They have the real control.
And I mean, that's actually to Josh's point from earlier, is that that he was saying is that they had a severely limited budget for Picard season 3, and they got away with what they consider murder, what we consider fan service.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, no, you guys, we have a lot of points that are just coming up. Okay, V-Man, go ahead and come on in.
I don't get that though. Like you go to season 1 of Picard, season 2 of Picard, and they had more money thrown at that. But you go to season 3 of Picard, and it's so satisfying, even though they had less fucking money. And I don't get that. Like they had, and just to name a couple of things, and forgive me if this is spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Well,
but you had
I don't think Craig has seen the entirety of Picard season 3. So Craig, I don't know if you want to
That's
jump
right.
off.
You guys go. We're gonna go back to our whining
Yeah.
game, and I'm gonna keep.
Yeah,
this
they're whining
I haven't
and gaming
either.
right now. So
okay. So I mean, they had the legacy, like all those legacy starships around the Forge's space station. Like just that, like something like that. One of my problems with Picard season 1 was, where the fuck is Starfleet? Like, I understand Jean-Luc didn't want to be a captain on a starship, but like, I was like, where the fuck is Starfleet? Like, it was so. It felt more like Star Wars than it did Star Trek, because like there's no Federation. It's barely around. Where any other time you're in the Star Trek universe, like Starfleet's all around, especially when you're in Federation space. And it felt so disconnected from Star Trek. But you get to season 3, and it's like this felt like Star Trek. And so something as simple as that, the stuff that was reused, from phaser props, old school phaser props, shit that came before that you're like, oh, they slipped that in, very cool. To like the Eagle Moss little ships, stuff that, little nods to stuff, stuff that's on, shoestring budget that Josh and I do. That we have no money, that we slip, but we slip shit into our films. Like, they were very smart on the money that they used, and they had less money than season 1 and 2. What the fuck? I mean, if that doesn't show you that you have to be more creative with less money, nothing else will. So let him do what he does best. So yeah.
actually, that I call that the Deadpool effect, because Deadpool 1 was so good. Deadpool 1 was perfect. It was good. It had a $30 million budget. And then we went to Deadpool 2, and they threw a ton of money at that movie, and it was not better. Like, it was okay. It was a lot of the same from the first movie, but it wasn't better.
Yeah. Roy Ivy says in the chat, he says, good writing makes the difference.
Yeah. And actually,
true storytelling. Right.
I am going to get to the comments here in a second. I have been watching them. I'm not trying to ignore them. We had a pretty big, but I want to get to one person that I've been neglecting this whole time, and he is by my red shirt and arms, Major Rage. Why don't you give me your absolute nuggets of wisdom, please?
This is a big topic, a lot to kind of boil down. There's been a lot of good points made by all of our other guests. I'm very grateful that they're all here tonight. It's always good to get different opinions and points of view. I'm gonna bring a dissenting opinion. I am one of those people. I did not enjoy season 3 of Picard, and I don't understand all the love that Metalis is getting. And so I don't think Kurtzman deserves all the hate. I think we're making Kurtzman into a boogeyman. And anything we don't like about New Trek, that's Kurtzman's fault. When really there's an issue of too many hands in the pot. We have so many producers now that there's so many different voices, you can end up with too many ideas. And I think that's the problem I had with Picard season 3. They're trying to do so many different things where all of the things they tried to do felt rushed to me, and they wrapped things up so quickly, and just I think it's an issue of too many hands in the pot. Metalis getting all the praise he gets seems disingenuous to me after like all the hate that Kurtzman ends up getting. I don't think either set of attitudes are completely deserved. I mean, if we all pretty much agree that season 1 of Discovery is the weakest of Discovery from the opinions I've been hearing tonight. And when I first watched Discovery, the thing that struck me most during the credit sequence was half the bloody credit sequence was a list of executive producers. They didn't get to a writing or cast or acting cast until 3/4 of the way through the damn credits. And why do you need so many producers? It's just, are you just handing somebody that walked into the room executive producer title so you can all slap each other on the back and say what a great job you did, have one big circle jerk of producers?
Well, can I address that for a second? Because you're saying something that I'm sorry to say it like this. You don't know what you're talking about in that respect, because you have 5 shows going on right now, and one guy can't run 5 shows.
Right.
And so what they do is they get a showrunner or a producer for each show, like Mike McMahon with Lower Decks,
Mm-hmm.
or Akiva Goldsman with Strange New Worlds. Like, it's a person that runs. So that's why they
Right.
have these producers, because Alex Kurtzman can't run 5 shows by himself. So just to clarify, that's the reason they do
Right.
that.
Right. I understand that you have to have a showrunner. I guess my question is, why does one show need such a laundry list of executive producers? Is everybody that throws out an idea in the writer's room getting that title
No,
instead of a writing credit?
they were juggling them around because,
Okay.
for example, Michael Chabon was the showrunner for season 1 of Picard. He left, so Akiva Goldsman did season 2, and then after season 2 of Picard was over, he went to Strange New Worlds, and so they promoted Terry Matalas to do season 3, which was essentially mop-up duty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you have a producer on shows, it's like there's different type of producers. Yes, producer credits are sometimes given out like candy. Sometimes, if you have somebody that drops, $20,000 on a film, like if somebody came by and said, "Hey Vance, I'm going to give you $5,000." Okay, cool. I'll give you a producer credit. Like, those can be given out like candy, and those are fucking useless. And I get your point on that. However, for me, I have overseen, several productions at one time. I think at one time I had, 10 or 12 productions going at one time. For me, it would have been necessary to, kind of divide and conquer and say, okay, you get a credit for this, you get a credit for this, you get a credit for this. Now let's split up and go. And it's more than just, it's like an extra pair of hands. It's somebody that can make a decision on my behalf, and then I go straight to them and say, what the fuck is going on here? So it's one of those things where you will necessarily need a producer so that you can oversee the entire project, especially when you have 10 episodes or a 14 episode block. You need somebody that can sit there and oversee something, the day-to-day kind of operation. So you would need a producer credit for that.
Okay, so just really quick, Boogeyman has something to add about season 1 and 2 of, I believe, of Discovery. So go ahead and jump in there. But before we do that, I want to say thank you to No Budget Productions for the $2 donation. Whoever this guy is in the comments, that No Budget Production, he sounds like an absolute wonderful Golden Glasses award winning actor. All right, anyway, go ahead, Boogeyman.
So my comment actually was from the Picard season 1, season 1 and season 2 that V-Man was kind of bringing up. It's like what happened at season 1, season 2, where there was no Starfleet, and then season 3, all this stuff is exploding. It's like my father Craig said. It's season 1, season 2. The bean counters were basically running the show, telling them this is what we want to see. Bean counters win. They've got the money. Season 3, if I'm correct, Joshua was saying that season 3, the bean counters kind of stopped watching because, well, we're giving you less money and finish the show up. So I'm pretty sure that's exactly why you saw it the way it went. Is season 1, season 2, it was crap because money. Season 3, they actually the director was able to actually implement either whether it be fan theory or what the fans wanted to see. Granted, he had to do it within reason and everything else in between there, but that's what happened. I guarantee it.
Okay. All right, so I want to get to some of these comments. I know they've been running for the past 37 minutes. So I'm going to start going through these comments. If anyone wants to jump in, just kind of jump in and make a comment on the comments, or wants to answer the comments or anything like that. So we start at the beginning. So Ginger Greek says the JJ films were better than all the other Treks combined, and then he runs away. So I'm sure he was just trolling us.
What is wrong with you? Did you ever watch Star Trek?
They were a good
It's
action
completely
film.
disconnected from the originals.
Well, yeah, because they were a separate universe, but that's beside the point. I mean, I've got my own issues with the
Yeah,
JJ
but I
verse,
mean,
but
Here's the things about the
totally
JJ
different
films.
technology and everything.
Here's the thing about the JJ films that you have to keep in mind. First off, they're not made for people like me. I hate action films. I don't fucking like them. However, looking at them through the lens of people who like the Fast and Furious films, they're made for people like them who like the popcorn talk movies that just want to put popcorn in their mouth and fucking watch something that's mindless. An hour and a half later, they're great. Now they have their charm, but are they meant to be watched through something that's like a 24-hour show like DS9? No, absolutely not. And they're not going to have that depth. However, they do have their charm, and that's how you should look at them. Now, they do have people who jumped onto the franchise through watching those films, and that's the way they should be seen and respected through. So they have their reasons for existence, just like every other section of Star Trek. So you can't knock it, and it's not true to the purest Star Trek, but then again, the same thing can be said through every separate franchise of Star Trek.
all right. So Ginger Greek also says they gave 2 space-based franchises to JJ, and the man spends little to no time in space. No producer thought, bro, what the fuck you doing?
Not only that, but no, it's science fiction or science fantasy or whatever. And the science in every movie that J.J. Abrams does is like completely so far off from based from reality. I don't even know what to say. Like, you can't just look up in the sky.
Voodoo.
You can't just look up in the sky and see a planet in another solar system. Like, that's
Yeah,
not.
that's one of my main points about that. I'm like, how is he seeing that? Is that a moon of Vulcan?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And they did the same thing in Star Wars. And
Vulcan has no moons.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Exactly, that's right.
Like, there was a part in Into Darkness where Kirk literally climbs inside the dilithium crystal chamber of the warp core, and the injector is misaligned, and he fixes it by kicking it. You wouldn't die of radiation poisoning if you climbed inside the dilithium crystal chamber. You would be incinerated.
Listen, he used the Kirk kick. It's a special move.
It's just there's
Kirk.
J.J. Abrams I think he can do a lot with action and pacing. He does not understand science.
No, not at
to
all.
the point of it being ridiculous.
Real quick on the whole kicking the thing. In the mechanical world, kicking works very well.
In the mechanical world, yes.
Electronics, though, not electronic.
All right.
Not nuclear science either.
So liquor in the front, poker in the back. Love that name. Love having you here. Lord Donkey. This is also a Trekkie. He was actually going to join us, but he's having a hard time logging in. So he was just saying, I agree. It will always be hit or miss. Picard season 3 hit for me, while the first 2 seasons were a miss. Ryan says lifts 2-handed dual blades. I'm guessing that's a Bathleth, I guess.
Yep.
Liquor. Keep no budget production jumping in there with their catchphrases. Keep on geeking on. What is wrong with these? What is wrong with them? No budgets. Also, Star Trek has so much variety you can afford at this point to dislike some of it and be okay, which is a very good point. Like, because I am not a fan of Prodigy. Not that I think it's bad. Not that I think it's terrible. I watched it and I'm like, this is just not for me. Like, I don't connect with this Star Trek, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not a Janeway fan. That didn't connect with me. I'm not a Voyager fan. That didn't connect with me. The Prodigy did not connect with me. But I do acknowledge, though, that it is still a good I don't want a good Trek, because they are honoring, like, you have your Trek staples in there, and yes, it took them a little while to get there, but they do have a lot of those Trek references that we all know and love.
Right. Well, let's take it to that level, though, Cheeto. The level that Prodigy is at. It's not only is it a family friendly show, but it's in a totally unknown area of space. New races are being introduced, new technologies, and this is all after Voyager. Okay, it's an area nobody explored, and that's where Trek needs to go.
Oh,
not
absolutely.
Inserting Discovery before Enterprise, or right after Enterprise and before TOS, and then reinventing the look, reinventing the technology. The ship interiors and exteriors are totally disconnected from our universe that we're used to seeing for the last 50 years on screen. Now, I understand, some people want to update the look, and that's fine, but do it subtly. Start out with the Picard era look that was in the original pilot, and then explain what you're doing.
Listen, Scotty, I don't want no bloody A, bloody B, bloody C.
I don't understand how someone can say that they love the fuck out of Prodigy because of all those things: different races, new eras, different technology, cool look, all this different thing, and then the excitingness of it, and then look at JJ and say, man, you're not true to Trek. I don't fucking get that. To me, that's mind-boggling, and my head explodes. It's just fucking nonsense.
No, it's chronological. That's all. If you're dealing with Star Trek chronology and you look at Enterprise, although it was disappointing to a lot of people, especially the first season, you start out with questions with Enterprise. It looks like a submarine interior. Okay, well, just think about this. They just had World War III. They met with the Vulcans when they got warp drive, and they're basically dealing with reusing old technology and upgrading a ship so that they can put it into warp 5 speed. So that look fit. The uniforms were fine. The props, the stories were good, generally speaking. I didn't like the temporal war, and I didn't like the Expanse thing they did. But when they did an individual story by themselves, that was cool.
But by that mindset, we would never get anything updated like Strange New Worlds. We would have to go back to the classic shit of the Cage, which I love that because it has retro Buck Rogers sci-fi feel, which I think is awesome because that's to me that's always a throwback to the 1950s. But you would never have anything updated like Strange New Worlds, which is arguably one of the best seasons of Star Trek, hands down. So I mean,
okay, but you and I both agree that the story is the thing, right? And the story is right in Strange New Worlds. I have no arguments with the story.
But I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about the visuals. The visuals are also something that brings people on to that. I'm talking about the updated look. I mean, it's the whole package. I'm not talking about just the story. I'm talking about the entire package. I mean, when you look at that, the ship itself, the way it looks. I mean, it looks like an updated version. So who are we to say that one interpretation of it is wrong for someone else to look at it?
I understand your point of view, but hear me out. If you're thinking about Strange New Worlds being the Captain Pike that's in the same show as the original Star Trek, why aren't we using those type of sets, at least starting out that way? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in really quick. I don't know. I don't know what kind of production actually uses the original.
Go from there.
But I mean, I just
fan film.
Yeah, just wait. Film. If they put them up, we gladly will use them. Those are fucking epic.
I had to poke fun at Josh a little bit. Anyway,
a fan film uses them because that's what we can do.
No, I mean, Cage era. If they ever put Cage era sets up, we would fucking use them because those are Buck Rogers. Those are epic looking. Those are great.
Well, if I could go shoot on a Strange New Worlds type set, I would.
Yes, but would you make it a TOS era or after?
I would not. Neither. I would put it like I did. I updated, I went to the TOS sets and I updated the look of them and I changed what they look like and said it was a different universe. And that was
Kind of
before
like
Strange New
Kelvin.
Worlds came on. But I think the point that you're trying to make, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the point that you're trying to make is that you want to see Star Trek explore new territory. And that's a little bit of what
Absolutely.
Prodigy's doing. And I think that
Right.
that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to recreate what was done before, do something new. And I agree.
Exactly.
And I think Prodigy has definitely done that.
I think that also Discovery has done that in seasons 3 and 4. I think it was the best decision ever for that show to move into the 32nd century. It does create
Yes.
some conundrums when it comes to history, in Picard season 3. Oh no, will the Federation survive? And then you've got a picture of Michael Burnham saying, "I wonder," in the 32nd century. So that is the kind of conundrum that we do run into with that, and I agree. There is definitely a problem with that. I'm also a big proponent of exploring the 25th century, where we've just hit, going past Picard season 3. Star Trek
Absolutely.
Legacy. I'm all on board with that. Starfleet Academy, I wanted to take place during the post Picard season 3 era. I don't want it to be in the 32nd century. I want the 25th century. I don't want the 32nd century as much anymore.
Because it's so depressing the way they've presented it.
Oh, it's coming back.
And I don't like the look of it. I don't like that really cold look that they give it.
Are you guys
Apple Store look?
Are you guys still going to be going in about 15 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I got to go grab my numbers.
Got to go grab those numbers.
He's got to get those numbers.
That's
Grab them with 2 hands, buddy. Grab them with 2 hands.
All right, later, guys.
Later. All right. So
See, I would have had no problem. I'm sorry to cut you off. I would have had no problem, absolutely no problem with Discovery if they had started in the future after Picard. Seriously.
I know. I don't disagree with you
for
at
that
all.
era. Okay, if they had started there and said, "Okay, these are the Klingons," I would go, "What the heck happened?" But I would accept it. You cannot tell me those Klingons in Discovery season 1 are freaking Klingons. It doesn't make any sense. There is a total disconnect. That's just one of the problems I have.
My only thing with Discovery season 1 is they should have made them a nomadic sect of Klingons that had been banished from the Empire for hundreds of years. So they show up and they're like, who are these smooth-headed Klingons? But no, they didn't do that. They just, this is it. How do you feel about Strange New World season 2? Because in Strange New World season 2, Klingons have ridges. I don't know if all of them do, but there are. We've already seen that.
That's fine. They had ridges in Enterprise. You remember the ridge problem started in Enterprise.
Not
so
really.
some of them have ridges.
They got rid of.
Yes.
No, there was a 3-parter in season 4 that explained how they lost the ridges.
Well,
that's what I meant.
A lot of fan films.
Some of them did
interpreted that to where not every Klingon was affected by that.
Exactly.
And so you have Star Trek fan films like, for example, Katoomba, which is a Star Trek New Voyages episode where they had both. And we're doing a little bit of that in Avalon, where you're going to see smooth head and ridge head Klingons as well.
Lord Donkey also says it's just another instance of Klingons we don't talk about. Worf would agree.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to move through these comments a little bit more here. I do apologize, people who've been leaving comments. I'm trying to move through the ones that are just kind of like, "Hi, how you doing?" I'm not bringing those ones up. Okay, so Roy says, "Thank goodness we now have Star Trek to choose from. Admittedly, Discovery and the first 2 years of Picard were generally." Oh, I think I already read that. And then No Budget says, "Except Cheeto, trying to get rid of him tonight." Ha! Well, I got rid of No Budget first, apparently. Ha! Prodigy took a while. Lord Donkey says Prodigy took a while, but it was fantastic. So there are some, as I said, I didn't hate on Prodigy, but as I said, it just wasn't for me.
It definitely gets better as it goes along.
Major Rage, you weren't in our reviews of Prodigy, correct? And I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen like the first episode or 2, and it felt more like Star Wars than Star Trek to me. But I
think it was the same producers as some of the Star Wars cartoons. I think it's
okay.
and I admit that could be why. And there's also, I think that part of that could also be that they're targeting the same kind of audience, which is why they brought in those guys, is they were targeting the kids that watch Star Wars. And so I think that's why it has a Star Wars-y kind of a feel to it a little bit. It does in the beginning, and that changes as it goes along. It becomes much more Star Trek like the deeper you get into it.
I intend to go back and give it a second chance for sure. But
As I said, it wasn't my cup of tea, but it definitely was not bad. Like as so speaking of Prodigy and fanboys, guess who joined the club?
Uh-oh. There he is.
Well, that seems like a time to tag. I'm going to tag out, tag Zam in. Thanks for having me on, gentlemen. Hope everybody has a great night.
Major Rage, I truly appreciate you being here as my co-host, my friend, and I know you've got a lot going on, so I appreciate you being here, bud.
It's no problem.
Thank you, mate.
I love how
prosper, everyone.
Real quick before Zam tags in, because I'm actually gonna be heading out as well. Just to kind of comment on the Prodigy thing. From what I understand and what I've read in just different articles, is that Prodigy was meant to target the younger generation, like kids, the same as Clone Wars and stuff like that, to try and bring more in. And I haven't got through Prodigy. I kind of fell off. I don't know, end of season 1, maybe beginning of season 2. But from what I'm understanding, is it kind of teetered back up to a more adult thing, because that's where the fan base is. The fan base of Star Trek is growing older, and kids just really aren't into it. Some are, but just not too many. But on that note, I am actually going to take off. I'm tired. So
all right. Well, I appreciate you being here, Boogeyman. Again, thank you very much for stopping in and giving your thoughts on everything. I'm anyone who leaves early, I'm putting them in the pro Kurtzman column, just because.
Hey, I'm not pro and I'm not against. I watch it as it is and I take it in as it is. Hey,
yes, what I think I heard was pro Kurtzman. Got it. Okay. All right, Boogeyman. Thank you very much for stopping in, bud, and I appreciate you being here.
Take care.
All right, so we're gonna keep moving through some of these comments. Zam, we're kind of playing catch up with the comments really quick, and then we'll get to your opinion.
Oh, by the way, anyone in the comments who wants to join us, like Roy or Lord, please.
Lord Donkey did try to join us, but the link wasn't working for him. Anyone else in the comments who wants to join, but I don't really know if there's much. No Budget Productions, of course, is that sassy little beast right there. Anyway, okay, so Lord Donkey also says we did that one. Now I'm pulling a Zam. Going to beam Cheeto out into space, which is fine. End my suffering. And like Among Us. Nope, that was me. Okay, here's a good one. All right, so no budget. The first 3/4 of Prodigy just didn't feel very Starfleet, which, to be honest, was why I went to watch the Star Trek show. I'm excited for season 2, but when they are actual cadets. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Prodigy season 2 now that like the initial? I don't know if you guys have actually watched it or not, but like now that they are finally, and spoiler alert for Prodigy if you haven't watched it, but now that they are finally in the Alpha Quadrant or Beta Quadrant, whichever one you want it to be. And they are Starfleet cadets. How do you feel about the series moving forward?
It's going to be interesting. They're going to have the Voyager A. We're going to see the Voyager A in season 2, and they're going to be off trying to rescue Chakotay. It's going to set up a new dynamic when they're actually on a Starfleet ship instead of improving and having the real Janeway as their guide. And I'm interested to see it. Look, here's the thing. My kids don't like Star Trek. My kids are Wars fans, and I can't get my 5-year-old hardly to watch Star Trek. So I appreciate that there's a Star Trek that he can like, and am grateful for that. And played a little Star Trek with him this morning, and that was really nice.
My kids are also not into Star Trek at all. Little maggots. I don't know what's wrong with them. But yeah, I mean, I do have that same issue where it's like, Star Trek is just, hopefully there will be a resurgence. Speaking of, there's a game coming out called Resurgence. But there is a resurgence in Star Trek that maybe Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Starfleet Academy maybe will kind of get some fans interested. But so far, my kids have not been interested, even in Lower Decks, which my kids are teens right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that demographic where Rick and Morty type age, and and still they're just kind of like, and they don't get all the references either. So it again,
Well, for me,
That's what Lower Decks is.
it was the animated show that got me into Star Trek. That was the first one I ever saw. So it worked for me, and hopefully there's a degree to which it works for the next generation.
see what you did there. Roy says Terry Metalis seems to have a better sense of the pulse of fans and storytelling. And I do agree on that. As I said, I mean, my issues with Kurtzman is not the fact that his directing on things, because he doesn't directly direct things, but he's putting people into place. And I get where Josh and Zam, you weren't here. I don't know if you were listening earlier, but Josh brought up very good points about the reason why Picard season 3 got away with what they consider murder that they did in season 3 of Picard is because Kurtzman was off working on the actual Star Trek, which was at this point Strange New Worlds, and Strange New Worlds, and Starfleet Academy apparently is what they're thinking.
It was a virtual repeat of what happened with Deep Space Nine. Like I said, they got away with Picard season 3 because no one was paying attention, and then were surprised. They thought this was like mop up duty, and when people loved it, it surprised Kurtzman. He didn't realize it was going to be as popular as it was.
Well, regarding Strange New Worlds, it has been a success, would you say? And if Kurtzman did help create that, obviously listening to the fans, which is one of the things why I am pro Kurtzman. I mean, if the Star Trek we've been getting, if it was shit as initially what Discovery was at the very beginning, I'll be as anti Kurtzman as the next person. But I do think things have improved. I do feel that they are listening to the fans. And maybe not in every aspect. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the notion of a Starfleet Academy. It could work out, but I personally think it's a stupid idea personally. But if it works out, then great, so be it. But Strange New Worlds, I've just disappeared.
We can hear you.
Okay. Strange New Worlds turned out to be something people wanted. We got it. It was a success. I think it far the expectation of it, was way more than what we got. So our expectations were surpassed in considering what we got. Overall, I'm very happy with what Kurtzman's been giving us. He's also putting people involved like Terry Metalis, who know their shit. So he's obviously the right person to be doing this. He's not egocentric. He wants to succeed, and he's listening to Trekkies like us who are telling him what to do, and more power to him. We need more people like that involved in Star Trek. This is a good thing. All these people shitting on him right now, they really don't see where Star Trek is at the moment, and it's in a good place.
I hope he's listening. I do hope he's listening, because right now it's a little bit unclear if he's listening with regards to Star Trek Legacy, because again, he didn't expect that to be a thing. They, in the recent interviews, they indicated that all the money's been sunk into this Starfleet Academy show no one wants to watch, and we're putting a lot of money into Starfleet Academy. We don't know if we can do this Star Trek Legacy. We've heard you, and that's why I say the rumors right now is that there will be a Star Trek Legacy, but what it's going to be is something like a couple of made-for-TV style movies or a mini series. I don't think they're going to commit to making a full show like Strange New Worlds. That's kind of the rumor at the moment.
But actually, I mean, they're doing that with Section 31. I mean, they're already doing that with Michelle Yeoh.
Because that was the plan. The plan is that when Picard went away, instead of doing another series, they were going to do a series of made-for-TV style movies, and of course, Section 31 was planned to be the first one. So they
I mean,
they hadn't accounted for in their budget or their planning doing another series, like Star Trek Legacy.
I mean, if they did do a Legacy, would it then replace Discovery in having a season long arc?
Well, they're
instead of being
replacing
episodic.
they're replacing Discovery with the Starfleet Academy.
Academy. But I think what it is as well is that we just finished watching Picard. They had no idea what the response was going to be until recently. You know, I'm sure this is definitely food for thought. The same way seeing Captain Pike and some of the other legacy characters in Discovery, you know, greenlit it for them to obviously do Strange New Worlds, and it's amazing how quickly they pulled that one out. You know, from where Discovery was back then. So we can hope that they do the right thing. I mean, this is a massive cash cow. They'll be stupid not to do the right thing. Obviously, they've gone down this academy route, but now they realize Legacy is something. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they will go down that road. I mean, they'll be stupid not to, but I do believe the best way to do it is in movies. Actually, you don't want another series because what's it going to be, episodic, or is it going to be an overarching story? I mean, we don't know. I mean, this is a spin-off from Picard, which is an overarching story, so it's going to be unusual. I think doing the movie route would be much better. I think it would. You could give it some budget.
I mean, I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah.
In that regard,
for sure, because we've already got episodic show with Strange New Worlds. I mean, we don't want it to be just a different timeline and be the same shit to a degree. It needs to have its own unique aspect about it to a degree. And I think making it films would definitely be that. You could put some more budget into it as well by making a 90-minute episode instead of like several episodes. You know, you can give it that grandiose if you make it only one film. So,
well, we were talking about budget a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And one point that I want to make regarding budget is I see a parallel between Picard season 3 and Wrath of Khan. And I bet you Terry Metalis would love that. But the parallel that I'm drawing is that with Star Trek: The Motion Picture, they spent a lot of money on that.
Over $70 million in the 70s.
Spent a lot of money on that.
Wow.
And with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, they spent $12 million.
Was it 12 or 20?
It was 12.
God damn. It was lower than I thought.
And it was 12 million. And that is the best, you know, people say it's the best Star Trek movie ever made. And they told a better story with $12 million. But there's some more interesting parallels in that they were able to do that because they reused the same sets that were already built for the motion picture, things like that. Well, that's what they did in Picard season 3. They reused a set that was built for Picard season 2 and just made it a different spaceship and told a better story with a lot less money because they had less money on Picard season 3 than they did the other 2 seasons.
Yep.
And they brought back the original cast and they had to rebuild the Enterprise D.
Set construction nowadays, especially something as retro as that, like honestly, for a studio budget, like that's not that much of an expenditure anymore. I mean,
interestingly enough, though, that is the one element of that season that he got the most pushback from Kurtzman and from the people in charge. They didn't want him to do that, and they tried to talk him out of it numerous times, and he fought for going back to the Enterprise D. They didn't want him to do it, and you know, they had to sacrifice a significant amount of the budget they had in other ways so that they could get that set rebuilt, and it took them 3 months to do it, and they only got 3 days to shoot on it.
Well, I was actually telling these guys
something to use for 3 days.
Well, I was telling these guys that when we were doing our review, sorry about that, my birds, I did cover them. Let me put my microphone here. The one thing missing from this massive reunion of all these Star Trek TNG characters was the Enterprise itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, and we got that as well. So that you know made that created the completion, and I'm very happy that we got that. Would it be Enterprise E or D? I was happy to get either, and we got one of them. So yeah,
the Enterprise is a character in Star Trek.
Hello, Jim. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm very
Yeah, and
happy
they
that
don't know why those
got it.
fat ones aren't selling, you know. At the bar when they were selling the Enterprises at the first episode.
Yeah,
We don't know
yeah.
why these fat ones aren't selling. Nobody likes them. That's
Well,
the Enterprise
I'm sure
D.
they're going to sell more of them now.
Absolutely.
Well,
I
especially
wanna,
after Data went all like Fast and Furious through a cube, like
I want to,
drifting.
I want to read some
Hold
comments.
on,
By the
Zam.
way,
I
because
know I'm working through these comments, so I mean
no,
that's kind of
not those comments, not those comments. Like I've been posting regarding this stream we've been doing today. I've been posting this stream in various Facebook groups, and people have been commenting regarding Kurtzman and all of that. So I just want to
people who
get to
probably
some of
aren't
the,
even here to see the stream. They're going to sit there and they're going to leave their comments without even seeing anything. Yeah, we love those people.
So this one guy, his name is Halk Fisher. He's part of the group called the Gay Trek Geeks, and he says, "Short answer, no. Long answer, what the fuck is up with people that they even need to ask this?" No, obviously, this is regarding Kurtzman, and he also wrote, "For some reason, it was just popular to be hateful and share that hate." So this is somebody else said, if for some reason it was just popular to be hateful and share that hateful on any and every post." This one guy called Mario Garza wrote, "No, he brought Star Trek back from the dead. All creative minds have rough starts. Discovery was rough to watch, but I did love it until newer and better shows came out. One example, the evolution of Kurtzman's growth. The issue with the early Picard is that Patrick Stewart demanded no uniform and no Enterprise. Season 3, uniform jacket and all black clothing on the bridge of the Enterprise G from the start, and later D. I love how season 3 ended, going back on all of Patrick Stewart's demands. All minds tried something new and different, but ended up going back to the roots like SNW. Kurtzman is just getting started and putting out some of the best Trek I've seen, and has assimilated. Yeah, that's a pun there. Assimilated new fans while watching it with me. Kurtzman deserves love, not hate. Right on, Mario. Right on. Let's see what else we got.
Okay, I'm going to bring while you're looking that up, I'm going to bring back in the. Oh, he disappeared. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, go
Meat
ahead.
Whistle is back.
He was, and then he disappeared again.
This guy called this guy called Kane Nightblade wrote, "Let's use logic," and then he put this sign up. He himself admitted not being a fan. How is someone who isn't a fan going to work on a franchise that he knows nothing about and then whine when he gets it wrong? He needs to take responsibility. And he and Jar Jar Abrahams drove Star Trek into the ground and made it into a shadow of its former self and divided the fans. This person called Glenn Straffy also wrote, "Well, the answer is obviously yes. He has been behind all the badly written reboots since ENT ended. He never liked Star Trek and has spent over a decade trying to turn it into something else, a dumbed down generic Star Wars knockoff. His vision for the franchise is completely incompatible with Roddenberry's, lacking the things that made Star Trek unique and special." I guess what this guy wants is to see more women in spandex.
Yes, and cat suits. Don't forget the cat suits.
Yes. Exactly.
And,
I have to
and
admit,
in short
some of these
skirts.
responses are beautiful. They are.
You know, here's the thing.
We keep losing Meat Whistle. He comes in and then he disappears. Anyway.
Here's the thing about I think think people complain too much. I think that people just want to complain and make a little art form out of complaining, and it's really pretty ridiculous. You know, the big thing that people have said a lot is that you know it's not Star Trek. Star Trek has been a lot of things over the years. And Star Trek has had a lot of bad writing over the years. You know, every iteration of Star Trek has ridiculous episodes. You got Beverly Crusher, you know, having sex with a ghost candle. You got space hippies. You got, you got Spock's brain. I mean, come on. Every incarnation of Star Trek has bad stuff, and any writer, filmmaker, producer, whatever, is going to put out stuff that people doesn't like, because nobody's going to like everything. You cannot please everybody, because everybody has a different opinion and a different perspective, and that's okay. Um, Kurtzman does, to a degree, listen. He at least does try. Um, and that's fine, because there's a lot of franchises where people are completely tone deaf. I'll say this as with my perspective as a Star Trek fan filmmaker. I left the comment section open on my films, and and I wrote some things that I thought were really clever, and people commented that they didn't like them. And then these NerdTube guys did a review that is infamous now in our production, where we quote it every time we're shooting something. And it's a deal where we're like, I had to kind of take an honest look at things and go, okay, that was probably not the best direction to go in, and I kind of changed a little bit of what I was doing. A lot of times you don't see that, like with the Flash. The Flash is um, they jumped the shark there in season 6,
And they lost me.
and suddenly it became good in the last 2 episodes again. I don't know what happened, but I would get on their Facebook and I would comment, this show's jumped the shark. Well, they, instead of listening to fans, they just started banning us from commenting. So you don't want to do that. You do want to try. My thing is if I see a criticism and I see it become a theme where lots of people have this same criticism, I at least try to consider what they're saying. Now, if it's just some comment like with Agent of New Worlds, somebody called it Two Broke Girls of the Galaxy. I think that's pretty funny, so it's just like, okay, yeah, that was, but that doesn't mean it's a bad film, so.
No, I agree. Those NerdTube guys are son of a bitches, is what they are. Don't even like.
I mean, every single shoot we're on, at some point, somebody's gonna, about 15 times at various points in the shoot, you're gonna hear someone say, "Who the fuck is Mason? Get back on the bridge."
Love it.
Oh God. Okay. So moving through some more of these comments here that we've been getting, I'm trying to skipping around a little bit. So Lord Donkey back a while ago said that we already have Star Trek Legacy, the 2006 Bethesda game by Xbox and PC. I played that game. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed playing out the Romulan War in that game, albeit in my imagination, but it's the best season 5 of Enterprise we're probably going to get. So that was fun. No budget, that these guys, I swear to God, worse than NerdTube, I swear. The only game for the PC I ever played was Star Trek Armada, and man, that was a good game. And I would tend to agree that Armada is one of the better games of Star Trek gamedom. Roy says good writing makes a difference. Treu storytelling.
That's German for true.
Oh, okay. We already talked about the $2 from those cucks over at No Budget Productions. Lord Donkey, this is he said, a skipped Disco season 1. The recap was plenty, and I've loved it ever since. See, talking about Discovery season 1, I actually have gone back and started watching New Trek over again. I haven't watched Star Trek Discovery season 1 or 2 since I originally watched them years ago. So I'm like, you know what? In hindsight, I'm going to go back and watch them. Because I was watching an episode of Trek Culture, and they actually said actually Discovery season 1 not that bad. I still disagree with them. However, if they would have just called Discovery season 1, like if they would have just had it as a section 31 show, it would have been much better. Everything about Star Trek Discovery season 1 was section 31. It was a Black Ops team on a experimental starship with an experimental form of production or propulsion.
Propulsion.
Like it just screamed. They wanted to make a section 31 show, but they didn't feel like they could do that, so they had to stamp it with Star Trek Discovery. And honestly, I
Well,
felt like if you would have put Section 31 on it in the very beginning, it would have been fine. Go ahead, V-Man.
the problem with Discovery is they consistently each season have way too many storylines for the characters that they have. They have way too many characters for the storylines that they have. They have way too many ideas for what they're doing, and everything is jumbled. Like, if they had started in the 32nd century, nobody would have had a problem with the Klingons. But everybody that first season was bitching about the Klingons. And then halfway through, like, you had everything built up to the Klingon War. Then you jump to the mirror universe. Then you jump back and you've missed the war. So what was the point? Like, a lot of Discoveries, like whole seasons go, what is the point? And by the time you get to the end, you really are left scratching your head. And that's part of what Picard season 2, that's what their main issue was.
I know they went back in time and they didn't even get whales. What is wrong with them?
But that's like Discovery's issue, like with the Klingons. Put, you know, in a different context, would have been perfectly fine. Same thing with what Control, I think is what it was called in season 2. Everyone was talking about how it was the Borg and all this. Like, that would have been a perfect way to do that in the 32nd century. But you're left with going, what the fuck was that all about? We don't know. And it's one thing to build up mystery, but it's, again, lazy writing to have no payoff. And one of the most idiotic lines in Star Trek was, I forget what it was that Giorgio said to that lady with the things on her mouth when she's talking about that one dude. Like, she's like, you want to help me kill him or whatever, or get him or whatever? And she's like, yum yum. And I'm like, the fuck, who wrote that? And that's part of Discovery's whole thing. All the time is they have really bad writing for like that. Like, who writes lines like that? Mm-hmm. You know, so it's one of those things where I feel like Discovery has always been a problem of, it's always been a great start, but they really need someone to go back and kind of look over it and go, let's rewrite this. Let's script polish it, you know, for lack of a better word. Because they have some great ideas, but they really should have broke that up into a couple of seasons. Like, that first season could have been a couple of seasons, and they want to rush it, you know, and that's been the biggest problem with Discovery, or at least modern Trek.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Hello, Daniel
like,
Vance.
Seems like that they do a lot of okay, so the format and this seems to be for a lot of shows is the mystery box, where it's like, what is the big mystery of the season, whether it's who is the Red Angel, or what caused the burn, or, you know, who's trying to destroy Frontier Day, whatever it is. And there's a format where it's like 10 episodes. Used to be 22. The 10 episode thing came from a writer's strike agreement, kind of like what they're doing now. They made it, the writers guild kind of made this deal that they were going to do 10 episodes now. So we're following this 10 episode format, and what you'll see happen is they'll come up with a plot for these 10 episodes, but really the plot is something that could be done in 2 episodes. And they try to take all 10 episodes to tell a plot you can do in 2 episodes. And I remember, like, right in the middle of Star Trek Picard season 2, I watched the TNG episodes Time's Arrow parts 1 and 2, which were like the same plot. And I was like, man, they told more story in these 2 TNG episodes than they have in all 10 episodes of Picard season 2. And so what you get as a byproduct of that, you know, 10 episodes and only enough story for 2, you get all these pointless side quests, you know, like last year, like the FBI episode, or
Burnham breaking the rules.
Yeah, they were doing stuff like that in Discovery. And thankfully, with the 10 episode format with Picard season 3, they actually just had a story that naturally progressed through 10 episodes, which I appreciated.
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, they still had to go back to the Borg, though, didn't they? Which was,
Well,
from
the
what I
only
heard. So from what I heard, it seemed to be not the most popular decision. Reoccurring bad guy like that.
well,
Well, but here's the thing. It's like, I mean, granted, I thought the Borg was a good villain in season 3 to kind of tidy things up. The problem is that they abused them in seasons 1 and 2 of Picard.
exactly.
It
It wouldn't have been a problem. Telling a good story about the Borg wouldn't be disappointing people. They're not paying attention to that. They're not saying this is a good story about the Borg. They're going, oh, it's the Borg again. And the only reason they're saying it's the Borg again is because there were bad stories told about the Borg too much in seasons 1 and 2. Because the point of season 3 is a couple of key things. One, it's a proper send off for the Next Generation crew. 2, it's to wrap up Picard's storyline, and wrapping up Picard's storyline involved the elements of he regretted that he never had kids and a family, and that his life was irreparably changed by the Borg. And so the point in wrapping up Picard's story as a character was to have him finally have closure with the Borg for assimilating him, and to give him a family. Terry Matalas said, what's the worst thing that could happen to Picard? Well, it's that he would have to go back to the Borg to rescue his son after his son was assimilated. And so that was the origin story of the whole season. And finally, the last element was they were telling the origin story of the next Enterprise. So those were their objectives: to give the Next Generation cast a send off, to tie up Picard's personal storylines, and to tell the origin story of the next Enterprise. Well, people aren't seeing it from that motivational standpoint. They're just saying there was a shitty Borg story in the previous season, so why are we doing the Borg again?
Oh, look, I have to admit though that I did like how Picard season 3 ended. I mean, it got me right in the fucking feels, man.
He's like,
he
came on a review. He's like, I cried like a fucking baby, mate.
Yeah, no. I said I cried like a fucking bitch.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm very happy.
It's the anti-Bollocks. The anti-Bollocks equation is Picard season 3.
Real men do cry. I was so happy that I was on my own watching this, because I just let the tears flow. I was Niagara Falls and shit. You know what I mean? I was going through fucking tissues more than I would usually do when I'm on my own on other sites. You know what I mean? I was like, it was unbelievable. You know, I was so overwhelmed. I haven't cried like that since Luke Skywalker showed up at the end of Mandalorian season 2. That also got me in the goddamn feels as well. I love it. You know, this is what it's all about. People knock on nostalgia. You know, you get the South Park episode with the member berries, but when nostalgia is done as well as this, because I want to show you a meme if I can pull it up. I've got it somewhere saved in my glossaries. But yeah, I'm gonna show you. Actually, I got it here. 1 second. This is what it's all about. Once I put it up. Here it is. Okay, let me share it now.
Zaman technology is great. This is great to watch.
The thing about
here it is. Here it is. Sorry, Vance.
You're fine, man. You're fine, brother.
Oh, why is it not coming on? There we go. There we go. What the Star Wars fan wanted, and what the Star Trek fans got. You know, and that's basically it. We got what we wanted with Picard. We got the fucking big get together. We got it all. Enterprise D, you know, everything. We got an evolved Data as well. In the way Data is now in this.
Oh God,
he should have been that maybe earlier in
season
in
1,
or maybe in the movies even. You know, like maybe by First Contact. He should have been like that to a degree. But nevertheless, you know, we never got that in Star Wars, and people are shitting all over Star Wars. We're kind of getting the right nostalgia treatment in Star Trek, and people are loving on it. And yeah, I cried so far. Yes, Jim. Yes, Tim got it right. I fucking cried. I cried so fucking much because it was tears of joy, and tears of joy, man. I got, I love it. I love it. I'm happy to cry tears of joy all the time for Star Trek and Star Wars and all the stuff I love.
Zam is a big emotions consumer of media, and there seems to be no in between. He's either like, this fucking made me want to kill myself. This bullshit, this bollocks. I just wanted to cut my own throat. Goddamn, sitting through this bullshit. I just wished I could just fucking punch my TV. Or he's like, I was crying like a fucking bitch. It's like there's no in between.
Well, look. Here's my favorite hater here is Ginger Greek. What you got was a show that was such a disaster. They had to ramp up the fan service to keep simpletons happy. You're damn fucking right, mate. You're damn fucking right. And I'm a fucking happy simpleton. It gave me what I wanted. I'm not asking for much. I just want some old school shit that reminds me of the good old fucking days, and I fucking got it. All right? This is fucking entertainment at the end of the day.
Well, that's the difference between you go to the first couple of seasons and it was trash. You talk about the Borg, and I mean that was part of the problem with Voyager. It was interesting the first time we saw the Borg when Chakotay and Janeway saw that Borg dead body on that planet. We were like, oh shit, the Borg are around here, fuck. And then Chakotay discovers that abandoned cube and had to help out the I think New Cooperation or whatever it was called. And then all of a sudden they sent out a probe, and you see all these cubes, flying toward the screen, and it was a real oh shit moment. But by the time you get to the end of Voyager, like the Borg have been played out over and over and over, and the problem I've always said was it wasn't the amount, it wasn't the fact that you had so many Borg stories, it was the fact that the quality was so poor, because in Best of Both Worlds you had a Galaxy class starship going up against this cube, and 50 starships was fucking lost at Wolf 359, and I mean one cube was a threat. At the end of Voyager, you had the Delta Flyer just destroying cubes left and right, and it was just such a terrible use of a bad guy. And that's in season 1 and 2. In season 1 and 2 of Picard, it was such a slap in the face to a great nemesis. And that's what wasn't here. Here, it was a proper, let's go ahead and bury this, race properly and let it go. And that's one reason why I was glad that it wasn't brought up in Discovery. And it kind of explains why they're not. And that's because of this reason here.
Well, and they also did the overuse of the Borg a favor, in the sense that they made it to where the Borg can never be used again. So they ended the Borg. So they did they took care of that problem.
Okay, the whole problem with that is that at the end of season 2 of Picard, I thought the Borg were done.
Yeah,
I must have missed something. That's what took me so far aback with season 3 so far. I have only gotten into the beginning of season 3.
Steve, the issue you've got there is a shitty story in season 2 is influencing season 3. And what they did in season 3 was they went, let's forget that season 2 even happened.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the problem though too, is that you can sit there and you can you kind of have to honor what came before it. Especially like in big franchises like Star Trek and stuff. And I get it, like taking your own spin on things, but at the same time, when you disservice what comes before, and you knew that it was there before, but that was going to be one of my points, is that the Jurati Borg are still out there somewhere. Now, granted, there may be a separate sect of the Borg that assimilation is negotiable. I mean, it's like
sometimes the best way to deal with a stupid fucking problem is just to shrug it and ignore it. Because no offense, I don't want to see the space vagina out there. It's not needed. And quite frankly, if I have to see ugly Jurati roboticized, just fucking stay off my screen and give me this shit. Give me the Enterprise D flying around like the Millennium Falcon and blowing shit up, and Data, looking like he's a old man on Pornhub. Like, just fucking let me see that shit. I don't mind. It's great. I'll cry with Zam every day of the week and watch that shit. I don't want to see season 2 at all. Keep that shit the fuck away from me. So
what I liked about what they did in season 3 with regard to Girardi is they did exactly what I would have done and have done. Is you had Shaw and he goes, forget that stupid fucking bullshit from season 2. The real Borg are out there. And that's basically, I can't remember the exact line, but that's what he said. Is he just said something like, fuck that weird shit we did last season, and I've done that in my films where, like, well, you could have been captured by Klingons, but how are you going to fight a Klingon? You're 5 feet tall, or there was a line where a guy talked about he didn't think he could win a fight with a Vulcan, and the other character's like, didn't you fight like a bunch of Klingons a couple episodes ago? And he's just like, kind of does we don't talk about that, Sometimes you just have to acknowledge that you did something that didn't work, and then hang a lantern on it and try something else.
Yep. I agree. And honestly, as much as Star Trek tries to be consistent, there are so often the times they're not inconsistent, and we have to just accept that sometimes.
It's been inconsistent from the beginning.
Yeah, they're constantly retconning all the fucking time. So
there's a guy named Major Grin, and he edits all these really funny videos where he compares the discontinuities of Kurtzman Trek with the old shows.
Is that him?
Yeah. And at the end, he'll have some clip. He'll go to some clip like, he'll have Sarah going, "It's illogical. And I said, but you could do that with just classic Trek. You don't even need to evoke new Trek. You could go to Star Trek 2 and have Kirk going, Klingons don't take prisoners, and then you could go to Star Trek 3 and have Courage going, I won't get prisoners. It's illogical.
Yeah,
it's so over the top though. I love it. It's like, man, this is the perfect reason why the internet is stupid.
Well, that's the first thing I thought. The moment Wolf said Klingons don't take hostages, I immediately thought of Star Trek 3. I mean, that's the first, and all of that. So, and then, by the way, regarding Klingons, we all know what they look like in the first season of Discovery, which was an absolute monstrosity. But if you then see the trailers for season 2 of
we already talked
Worlds,
about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my bad. I was away. I'm sorry.
The Klingons are now ribbed for our pleasure in season 2. So,
well, they're making them look more like how they're supposed to look. Obviously, I know. I get it. You guys, but yeah, it's that once again they're retconning. There's inconsistencies and stuff like that. Like there was different types of Klingon races and species and stuff like that. That's what people are bringing up to resolve the ridges, no ridges, fucking bullshit as well. It's just, oh god, it's frustrating. It's hard to keep up with everything, but just go with the flow. And I think Leonard Nimoy said it best regarding continuity and canon and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but he says, fuck it, basically. It don't mean shit. So as long as we're enjoying ourselves, I think that's all that really matters. So
Daniel Van says, if you live in Utah and didn't get the reference, Pornhub is a website devoted to porn. I don't know where that reference to.
Well, you know about the law in Utah, don't you?
The what?
There's a law in Utah regarding Pornhub.
Nope, no idea. Okay,
I'll talk to you later about it.
Okay, thanks, Dad.
No problem.
What did you think of the regeneration video that was put out? What regeneration video? Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
He could be talking about the Roddenberry archive stuff.
Oh, well, we're getting a link, so we'll have to check that out later. Can we watch it live, or are we going to get copyrighted?
I don't know.
Look, here's a comment from Ginger Greek. Fan service was so high that Kurtzman and Filoni were eating each other's ass.
Well, okay, hold on for a second. Fan service. Well, fans are the people watching the show, so it's like. That's like saying you're going to go into McDonald's and order a cheeseburger, and if they give you a cheeseburger, they're customer servicing you. I mean, you should give the fans what they want, you know, and if they're giving, if it's fan service, then they're giving the fans what they're asking for. And Kurtzman, again, Kurtzman didn't have almost anything to do with Picard season 3, almost nothing. He just kind of went, hey, Terry Metalis, can you make sure you turn the back door, lock the back door, and turn the light off?
Yeah.
And then walked away. And Terry Metalis just did his own thing. So it was season 3 of Picard was Terry Metalis. It really wasn't Kurtzman. Kurtzman tried to fight him on the fan service. Kurtzman told him not to do the Enterprise D and not to rebuild the bridge.
Has it ever been written? How many episodes has Kurtzman actually watched of any Star Trek or any original Star Trek movies? How many has he actually watched? I think that's where you start when you're taking over a franchise.
Well, that's
if I were, you know, if you asked me, come in and do, you know, one of your movies, I'd say, okay, show me the link and I'll get started watching all of the things you've done, and then talk to me. Okay.
Harv Bennett.
I'm not going to just jump in and say, I'm putting my stamp on your stuff. I don't know your stuff well enough to do that. That's rude.
Yeah.
It's a disservice.
When they handed the Star Trek the movie franchise from Gene Roddenberry to Harv Bennett went to the in-house theater they had at Paramount at the time, and you know, back then the only way he was going to be able to watch the original series, this is before VHS or anything like that, they had to bring the original 79 episodes in on film reels and project them in a theater for him, and he watched all 79 episodes of the original Star Trek before he did Wrath of Khan, and he got the idea to do Wrath of Khan from watching the Space Seed. He went, okay, this is the thing we're going to do. We're going to figure out what happened to Khan, and it went from there.
One of the problems,
see a lot more of that kind of a thing.
One of the problems with and we're bitching about Kurtzman, but if you look at Berman Trek, again, we look at the height of Star Trek from back in the day, and we choose to ignore the bad things. But look at what Berman did, hiring Stuart Baird, the guy who did Nemesis. He thought Geordi was an alien. He kept What's that now?
I'm laughing.
Oh yeah, he kept mispronouncing his name. He didn't know who Data was. Like he didn't know any of the shit that was in Star Trek. Now, he originally was an editor. He wasn't a director, but he was brought in to direct. And I'm all for giving people chances. I've done it on my Constar films, and my films are not nearly as good as Josh's or half the people in fan films. So I don't pretend to know everything about film. But there's a big difference between giving somebody a chance and handing somebody the keys to the kingdom. They fucked up huge there, because he didn't even do his research after he got the project. And when he's on set and he's talking about Geordi as if he's an alien and not knowing what the fuck is going on, didn't even realize Geordi was blind. Like, dude, these are huge ass fucking problems. And I fucking hated Nemesis because, one, it looked cheap. I mean, not as cheap as Insurrection, but fucking cheap. The dune buggy scene, what the fuck is that? Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, and Picard, like, the reason why they did is because, oh, Patrick Stewart loves to drive. Well, you know what? So do I. I like fucking driving, but I'm not, like, who fucking, what? Like, that is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever fucking heard. I like making pancakes. That doesn't mean I'm going to put it in my goddamn fan film. Like,
but you love pizza rolls. You love pizza rolls.
Hey, back off the pizza rolls, bitch.
And also, you love killing your girlfriends, and you put those in the
No, they just happen to die. I don't kill them. Well, actually, I did once, but that's, hey, you can't prove it. I just pulled the knife out. That's all. So, you know.
Well, and, you know, yeah, you make a really good and interesting point, Vance, because again, that the deal with Stuart Barrett is kind of on the studio a little bit too, because what happened there was Stuart Baird saved some other film. They had some other film that was floundering, and he saved that film, and so that the studio owed him a favor, and he said, I want to direct a film, and they went, you can do this shitty Star Trek movie we don't care about, and Berman didn't really push back on that, and that's what happened.
Well, and the thing is also a big problem, and I've always had a huge fucking issue with this, is they let Brent Spiner write part of the script. Like, after the script was written, like, they let him heavily edit it. Same thing with Patrick Stewart. I've never been a huge fan of putting, those two on as the main leads, because I've always felt that TNG worked best as an ensemble. It's not like the trifecta of the original cast where it was basically the big three. TNG was always the ensemble cast. That's what it was always, pretty much. I felt like the TNG movies, the problem there was they focused Picard data, and they made Picard an action hero, and that was the biggest fucking problem. Like, Beverly had nothing to do with the films. Same thing with Troy, and which didn't bother me because I didn't give a fuck about them. Didn't bother me. But as the characters or people who loved those characters, I would find that a huge slap in the face. But to have Brent Spiner write part of the script. Josh, you give me a certain amount of influence in what I do as a character. However, at the end of the day, you have final say. It is your job to give me what to do. If I come in and say, no, Josh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you have no say so. This is what I'm going to do. That is not the way it should be done, because it is your vision. It's not mine. Again, you give me a lot of freedom, but at the end of the day, it's your vision. And that's where I feel like Nemesis failed, is it was a movie that had no fucking vision in it. It certainly fucking shows. Well, that's why Picard season 3.
Same thing with Picard seasons 1 and 2, because Patrick Stewart had so much to do with the plot of both of those seasons. I swear to you, Vance, I never commented it because I don't do this sort of thing, but they showed this picture of Patrick Stewart sitting in the writer's room with the writers at the very beginning of the process of writing Star Trek Picard. And I swear to God, I thought he was going to write a story where Picard's riding a bicycle on the grass and starts watching people's clothes fall off.
I don't like that picture. That picture, I know what picture you're referring to, and honestly, that picture always bothered me, because I feel that I feel like Patrick Stewart had too much creative control. Because that was one thing he was very adamant about, especially before Picard's, the series began, was he was like, Picard's not going to do this. We're not going to have the entire cast come back. We're not going to do this. We're not going to be on the bridge of a ship, of a Federation ship. We're not. And to me, it was just like, then, fuck off, dude.
Then why are you doing this?
Yeah, and it's like, I understand. Like, to me, although I share a lot of the same political beliefs that he does, it was too politically, to me, it was too politically heavy. And to me, it's like, that's why season 3 was better, is because it didn't preach at me. It fucking let shit stand on its own, and it was fucking hopeful, and it was fucking inspirational in a way that season 1 and 2, man, Picard was a bitch in those seasons. Everybody was fucking talking down to him and disrespecting him and basically pushing him on the fucking ground. And it's like, in season 3, when he meant business, he fucking meant business. And it's like, that's what you should have given us to begin with, dude. You wasted 2 years of a show, and you only gave us 1. So, it's a waste of time.
I've always referred to what you're talking about as creative handcuffs. And another good example of that is excuse me, Tom Welling refusing to wear the Superman suit. And it's like the only way that Tom Welling refusing to wear the Superman suit for 10 seasons works is if in the last episode he wears the damn Superman suit, which he didn't do.
And then he doesn't. Yeah, I was so fucking I was so pissed that he didn't do that. it's one of those things where he'll sit there and justify it by saying, "Oh, well, we're seeing him become Superman, but we can't join him on the journey." And it's like, no, bitch, you just didn't want to wear the fucking suit, and you say it's because you don't want to be typecast as Superman. Well, you shouldn't have played Clark Kent for 10 fucking seasons. To me, it was so disrespectful to the fans that stuck with you for 10 seasons, you know. And at least Gotham. I mean, as much as I hated the bat suit they gave the kid, at least they gave him something to fucking sit there and be part of. You know, I mean, it was fucking, it was a shit suit. You know, they should have given at least Christian Bale suit or something, but at least they tried with this to give us a little CGI Tom Welling shit. Like, fuck off, man. You owed us that. You know, I don't think that, I think creative handcuffs or whatever you said, I agree 100%. I think that's that's as bad as studio meddling, in my opinion.
Two interesting takes that I heard on seasons 1 and 2 of Picard came from Gabe Kerner and Rob Burnett. And Gabe Kerner, he nailed it on the head when he said two things. One, the character of Picard is not recognizable as Picard. Two, seasons 1 of 2 of Picard are not Picard. They're Patrick Stewart Goes to Space. And, you know, again, when I saw a picture of Patrick Stewart in the writing room, I expected Posh Spice to walk in and her clothes to fall off. You know, like you have no idea what you're going to have if Patrick Stewart's writing the script. And especially in season 2, like completely retconned the character and made him not who he was for the past several decades. Rob Burnett said, you know, when you give an actor that much creative control over a show, they're not going to do what's best for the show. They're going to do what they want to do. And he said, that is not a Star Trek problem. That is an actor problem. And, you know, to your point, you were talking about you, Vance, if you were to come be in my show and say, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you have no say in it, I would fire you like I did someone else who did that.
You cannot fire the Stan Lee of fan film.
No, and that's like, and that's the thing. Like, I understand. Like, I have so much respect for Patrick Stewart. I mean, anyone who doesn't, I mean, you just come on. But there does come a point where you got to say, look, this, standing back and looking at it objectively, this isn't good for the series. And there's no wonder that they let Terry Matalas take it and walked away and did other things. And then I find it sad that they then backtracked, like, oh, no, you can't. Don't do the Enterprise D. Don't rebuild that. Don't do this. Don't do that. Well, that's just like with when they walked off and wanted to go do Voyager and left DS9 alone. And Ira Stephen Bear was like, man, fuck you. I'm doing the Dominion War. I'm doing all this other shit. You know, that's why DS9 was so good. I mean, you put it at a bad time for most stations. For me, I couldn't watch it until 10:35 on a Saturday night.
Yep.
Fuck, man, that was fucking terrible. Like, I literally had to search TV Guide, because internet wasn't really a thing back then. I had to search TV Guide to find out when the fuck is DS9 on, and half the time it wasn't on. So I had to find reruns, which, you know, it's not like now where you can just search the internet and find what the fuck is, when it is. I mean, I had to do some real digging. So I mean, they didn't make it easy, right? You know, so I mean, they didn't make it easy for us Trek fans back then. So they made his job real bad, you know. And then it's just the amount of stupidity that the studios show, and then when they see a good thing, they're like, oh, let's throw a wrench in that plan. Man, fuck off.
You know what? I've got the sequel to this podcast then. The sequel to this podcast is going to be, does Patrick Stewart deserve your love?
When he's not wearing that goddamn eye patch from season 1 and that stupid mindless filler episode. And that was another thing from season 1. How many fucking filler episodes do we need? I mean, we're going on this useless fault.
Exactly.
Jesus,
it is.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, what the fuck was the point of that? Like, outside of getting 7 of 9 pulling all Sarah Connor, like shooting everybody. Like, we got fucking Picard doing cosplay. Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Well, if you're
So-
gonna do a show with 8 to 10 episodes, you're gonna get 1 to 2 filler episodes for sure. It's inevitable.
No, that's okay. Horse shit. Like, if you got 8 to okay, first off, you start off with 24 episodes a season. That's from back in the day. That's been a thing that's been around for
those are episodic.
Yeah, those
okay, hold on. Hear me out here. Don't cut me off. Hear me out. So you start off with 22 to 24 episodes a season. I can forgive some filler episodes. I get it, and that's fine. Then you come down to 14 episodes to 10 episodes a season. Okay, fine, I get that. That shrinks down how many episodes you have. You don't have an excuse to have filler episodes. That means get your goddamn ass in the seat and write me some episodes. Put your butt in gear and write some episodes. What do you have to fill? You have nothing but story to fill. Earn your paycheck. That's like saying, hey, I have 10 hours of work here, but I'm going to go take a nap for 3 hours. What do you fucking have to take a nap for? Sleep when you get home.
But sometimes, like the filler episodes,
No, there's no sometimes. You don't need to take a nap.
Expand the character and
No,
not necessarily expand the story.
It's Bullock. It's Bullock.
What he's talking about here, what he's getting upset about, is that you have 14 episodes of The Flash, and you have 3 whole episodes where The Flash is not even in the episode.
Not even in it. And then you have 4 episodes of that with fucking Speedy Batwoman. Fuck off. No.
Hey, Zam, he's being your match in this episode.
What it is that we've like
my blood pressure is rising. My penis is hard. I don't know what the fuck. Shit.
Hey, your blood pressure is up and your penis is hard. That's talent. Right? Normally, blood pressure drops.
Good thing I'm not in Utah. Shit.
V man, you got support.
It's full circle here, guys. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Goddamn Bullock's nerd tube. Goddamn. All right, guys. Any closing thoughts? I mean, we've been doing this for about almost 2 hours now, which is about what I was hoping this would be. It's been wonderful talking about Alex Kurtzman and all the tangents we went off on, because that's exactly kind of what I wanted. So, Dave, go ahead.
Overall, I just want to know, just with a yes or a no, are we with Alex or not? I want to know from people in the chat. Just a yes or a no. That would be nice as well.
The answer
I'll start
is
with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm yes at this particular moment in time, because I'm liking what we're currently getting. I'm a big fan of Lower Decks. Prodigy for season 1 didn't turn out to be amazing, but like most seasons of Star Trek, the first season never tends to be the best, and they end up finding their footing, like a lot of shows, like even Discovery, after a couple of seasons. But obviously, Strange New Worlds has turned out to be pretty good, and obviously Picard season 3 ended with a bang. So I am definitely pro Kurtzman. What about you, Steve?
No, I'm still not pro Kurtzman. I think that I talked a lot at the beginning. I'm not going to take up a lot of time, but if you want somebody to present a product, they need to know their product, and he did not know it when he came in, and I don't think he really cares right now. So the success of New Trek is not Kurtzman; it's other people that are doing his job for him, like you said in Picard 3.
You don't think that you have to give him credit for bringing the right people in? You know, and
I can't be confident that it was his decision to do that. I think he was probably strong-armed or something.
He didn't give Terry.
Or he wasn't paying attention, and somebody else walked in. Yeah, Terry Metalis.
Terry Metalis was mop-up duty. It was like, you can take care of this while we're doing the important stuff over here. It was just
that was my impression. Exactly, and that's the whole problem. You need to put Terry in charge of things that you want fan service for.
I think
Okay,
Terry
so what about
Metalis
the
would
new
make a good like a good director and writer of Star Trek, but as an executive producer, I don't know.
Joshua?
Like I said, it's kind of a mixed bag. you know, the reason that people get hired to be showrunners of franchises right now, one of the big motivating factors is if they graduated from like an Ivy League university or something. It's not a matter of are they a good writer or are they proven. Alex Kurtzman took the job with Star Trek with his company because he felt like it'd be a lot of money for his company, and he's right. He's done good things. He's done bad things. You know, we can give him credit for the things that worked out, and we can blast him for the stuff that didn't. Ultimately, the buck stop. We're talking about Kurtzman because the buck stops at the guy running the whole shooting match, and that's him. And so he's done some good things. He's done some bad things. You know, you could say the same thing about Gene Roddenberry. You can say the same thing about Rick Berman. So it's like, you know, he's doing okay. And I'll, you know, the only way that I'll stop watching is if they give us no form of Star Trek legacy whatsoever. If they just completely blow that off and don't do it and give us this Starfleet Academy nonsense, I'll cancel my Paramount Plus subscription. But even if it's a TV movie or a mini series, if they give us some form of Star Trek legacy, I will watch that. Don't know that I'll watch Starfleet Academy because I might give it a chance. I give every Star Trek a chance, but to me, yeah, Kurtzman deserves credit for what he did good. He deserves, you know,
What about
he
recently though?
deserves
Like,
to take
I mean,
criticism for what he did bad. I would say I would rate him in the same vein as Gene Roddenberry or Rick Berman or Harv Bennett or anyone else.
but don't you think he deserves more credit recently? More like recently, things that feel like they are improving for the better. Would you not say?
No, because he had nothing to do with that.
No.
He had nothing to do with
Yeah, it's the
Strange
same
New
thing
Worlds
with-
season 1. He had nothing to do with Lower Deck seasons 1
Yeah.
through
Really?
3. He had nothing to do with Prodigy. He had nothing to do with Discovery season 3 and 4.
That's a good point, but you know, as far as Picard season 3, I don't give him any credit for that. I'll give him credit for Strange New Worlds, but
and that's my point though. Is this whole thing is that look, we know Picard season 3, Terra Metalis, Kurtzman had nothing to do with it. That's why I purposely didn't put Picard season 3 on the thumbnail of this, because really, yes, you're right. He had nothing to do really with Picard season 3, but the product overall of New Trek from Discovery season 1 all the way up to
has
let's
it gotten
say
better? Yes.
Yeah,
Has
let's
it gotten
say
better?
this
Yes.
Lower Deck season
Overall.
3. You know,
like I said, I don't think it's so. For me, it's not so black and white. It has gotten better since Discovery season 1, and my evaluation is I'd give it the same kind of grade that I would give Gene Roddenberry or Harv Bennett or Rick Berman, because they all did good things and they all did bad things.
And I would agree 100% with that, because I am not a I've said this before on this channel. I am not a Roddenberry champion. I respect the man for what he brought. He made Star Trek what it, you know, but I don't feel like he made Star Trek what it became.
No, it succeeded in spite of Roddenberry, not because of him.
Yeah,
because all three times Roddenberry was given creative control of Star Trek, it got taken away from him. First example, The Cage. The Cage was his original Star Trek. It got taken away from him and given to Gene L. Kuhn. And Gene L. Kuhn made the Star Trek, the original series that we all love. With Star Trek, the motion picture, it was taken away from him after Star Trek, the motion picture, and given to Harv Bennett. Harv Bennett made the movies we love. After about season 2 of Star Trek, the Next Generation, it was really Michael Piller who saved Next Generation. So it's you know, it's succeeded in spite of him, not because of him. But you do have to give him credit for the idea and the vision and all of that, and that's great. I've always said this: Star Trek is a diet book with a fat man on the cover.
You know, I look at it no different to people even like George Lucas, who comes up with a particular concept, and after a while, it goes into like ridiculous directions, and it ends up not necessarily being what people initially appreciated about the product. But quickly, just to yourself, V man, are you Kurtzman in or out?
When I started this job here, I did not know anything about the position I was applying for. I simply applied and I got it. They trained me to do the job I was looking to do. Eventually, I moved up to different positions and got them. Again, not knowing necessarily what I was getting into, but I learned and moved up, learned and moved up, learned and moved up. I think the same thing can be said for Alex Kurtzman. He may not have known everything there was to know about Star Trek or anything there was to know about Star Trek, but I feel that he learned enough to get by for that universe. That being said, just like with this job that I do currently, when there's something that needs to be done, I delegate to the people who need to do what needs to be done. When those people fail, because I gave them the responsibility of what to do, that falls on me. If Terry Matalas had failed in Picard season 3, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The only reason we are is because he succeeded. So unfortunately, that doesn't fall under Alex Kurtzman's Trek bullshit. It all falls under Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek, because he's the one at the top greenlighting all these Treks. So it's all him. We can't discriminate just because one thing succeeded and the other does not. So Alex Kurtzman is doing a fine job because we have Trek to choose from. We have Treks to say, that's horseshit. We have Treks to say, that's great. We have Treks to say, it's not my cup of tea. We have Treks to say, this is so much better than what came before. We have Treks to say, no, I'm walking away. We have Trek as opposed to what came before, which was nothing. So I'm for it. Continue to give me Trek that I can snub my nose at. Back to you.
Steve. I mean, I already asked Steve.
Oh, did you?
But I mean, yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did, me.
I'm sure.
Sorry, I haven't been doing hosting duties.
I'm not sure if you. I'm not sure if you
gave
gave me. I'm not sure if you gave me a response, Cheeto. But overall, I got what I wanted. Hoping the people just reading some comments. I think Roy Ivy is not much of a Kurtzman fan. Bye, Kurtzman.
The votes in the chat are yes, 80% yes, 20% no.
Interesting. Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, demand a recount.
I'm hoping like we've given good arguments regarding whether we're pro him, not pro him, wait and see him, whatever it may be. I'm hoping people will have a.
I don't think it's black and white, honestly.
For thought. No, yeah, I do agree, but I do think the road was rough initially for him, but like I said, all Star Trek starts off pretty crap, whatever the series may be, and things improve, and I think Kurtzman is basically an example of that in its own right as a creator. He starts off pretty crap, and things improve, and if you do get your legacy show, which I genuinely hope we all get, then you have to then say he's the greatest of all motherfucking time.
I'll get out of here.
I'm only saying that. That's the tongue of it.
I won't go that far.
I'll be happy if we get some form of it. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's. I mean, for me, I think Kurtzman has improved. I mean, if we got I think I don't remember who said it earlier. If we got the same shit that we got in Discovery season 1 and 2, and we were still getting it now, I would agree. I would be like, this is absolute bullshit. Kurtzman needs to go. Great example that we haven't really brought up except we brought up the franchise, we haven't brought up the person, is Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy over and over and over and over again has done the same bullshit with all of her Star Wars stuff, and it's still happening. If that was still happening, then I would gladly say Kurtzman needs to go. Kennedy needs to go. The only redeeming people in Star Wars right now is Filoni and Favreau, and I mean they have their issues too. But still, the executive producer. I mean, but we're all willing to give Kevin Feige the absolute blowjob praise that of the original MCU. You know what I mean? Like I don't even want to say phase 4.
We're letting him fail an entire phase and start off phase 5 pretty shitty as well. You know what I mean? So,
but that's what I'm saying. But everybody still says Feige's the greatest of all time.
In the bank.
So
Yeah.
when things are good, we have to give credit where credit's due. When things are bad, we also have to give credit where credit's due. And I think Josh is right that it is not a black and white answer, but we're not here to talk about black and white. We're here to talk about gray.
Yeah. Hey, look, I've
Very
made
Dorian Gray.
fan films that are better than other fan films I've made.
Yeah, but you
No
have a
shit.
team.
I've gone in.
You have
I've
a
gone
team.
in. I've gone in bad directions, but at the top, Avalon Universe only has ever gone where I let it go.
Right.
And there have been times that it's gone in directions where I had to stop it and say, we're not going that direction and we're not going down that road. And so I've whatever we do, good or bad, the blame or whatever, I can praise all the people that did the good stuff, but if it's crappy in the end of the day, there's nobody that answers for it other than me.
That's right.
This is true. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm so glad we had an opportunity to do this. I'm so glad that we were joined by so many great Trekkies even before. What Kurtzman helped produce Xena Warrior Princess. It's immersion.
If he does more of those, I'll watch him.
Yeah,
now we're just gonna get Kurtzman Warrior Princess.
Lucy Lawless is really great. Kevin Sorbo, you can go fuck yourself. Yeah, all good.
But anyway, so everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Lord Donkey, Roy, Ivy, Daniel Vance, of course, Jim, just so many people in the chat for this little chat, even earlier on, Ginger Greek. I'm kind of running through here, just trying to find everybody. No Budget
Matt
Productions,
Arnold.
those hacks. Who did you say, Zam?
Matt Arnold.
Matt Arnold, stop. I think, yeah.
Tom Arnold's brother.
I see you got 1 or 2 comments in there. Everybody, as I said, this has been wonderful. I'm very grateful that all of these people and Trekkies were able to show up and stay for, and thank you guys for staying for as long as you did. I truly appreciate it. Zam, Steve, Josh, V-Man.
Can I quickly add? Quickly add that I think maybe tomorrow we're going to be doing a review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 if you want to join us for that. And I'm currently reviewing a new show on Amazon Prime called Citadel. So if you guys are into that as well, and I'll be getting a review out of Beef on Netflix. Watch Beef, by the way. Beef is fucking brilliant. I highly recommend it. But yeah, so there's some more stuff coming from us on this channel. Please keep an eye out.
Also, please keep an eye on Josh Irwin over at the Avalon Universe. They do great Trek fan films over there. V-Man does No Budget Productions, although he is pretty much retired. There is still plenty on his channel. I believe that's where he's hosting all of the Crossroads stuff. Correct, V-Man? Yep, all the Crossroads stuff and everything from Frank Parker Jr. is over there from Phil Ferrick Productions, and Steve has his. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm sorry, Steve, but Fecto Studios. And Harris Films Productions. So, check those guys out. They love Trek. We all love Trek. We are Trekkies. Yep. Bottom line, we want what's best for the franchise. We want what's best for Star Trek.
Academy.
I mean, Zam shits on a Star Trek or Starfleet Academy show, and then he wears a freaking T-shirt. Who the hell knows? Actually, I love the idea of a Starfleet Academy show. I just don't want it to be in the 32nd century. Anyway, with all that being said, this is like Lord of the Rings ending here for this podcast. But this is it. We are sailing off into the distance to Valeria or whatever it's called. Vagina Town. I don't know. Everyone out there, please like, comment, share this video out if you know Trekkies and in groups. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Catch you later.